Hello there. Welcome into a Friday edition of the show. So glad to have you, whether you're listening on your radio, streaming the show online at extrasports1300.com, or you've downloaded and are listening on the Extra Sports 1300 app, sponsored by Diversus Health, Mental Health, and Well-Being for All. Although it would be best, just my opinion, if you were here with me, not in studio, at Trainwreck, 812 South Sierra Madre, back here, or series of 3 shows out here at Trainwreck in accordance with the basketball tournament. Second half of the round of 16 is tonight, which you can hear on Extra Sports 1300. But we're here for the next couple of hours. Come by, say hi. You can enter to win Switchbacks season tickets. Ray, who is producing on site, has a bunch of Air Force and Extra Sports 1300 goodies that you don't have to enter to win. You can just have it. We would love for you to have it. And then you get settled in, maybe check out the golf simulators, go out back. It's a phenomenal day. So much stuff to do, 2 acres worth of indoor and outdoor entertainment. And then whenever you're ready, you could get settled in, sample their new menu, got a lot of drinks on tap, and get settled in for the basketball tonight. And there's sports right now. Opening day, Rockies and the Rays that you could come out and watch right now leading up to the second half of the round of 16. And if last night was any indication, we might be in for some pretty good basketball tonight. Nuggets in action as well this evening. It's the Jazz. So, but hey, if the starting, and I talked about this yesterday, the starting 5 all together, this will be just the 22nd game if they are all healthy, which I don't think they are. I think they're going to be missing somebody. But there's plenty going on for you to check out here at Trainwreck, and they got a billion TVs, including a stadium-sized television, the largest in Colorado Springs that you could watch on. Let me start there. I want to get into the Avs, and I will. Coach Prime's extension, looking forward to the basketball tonight, and some more draft thoughts when it comes to the Denver Broncos. But let me start with the Rockies, if you'll indulge me. And I do feel like it's fitting that the Rockies are opening up the season where they're opening up the season and opening up against the Tampa Bay Rays. And let me explain. Because for Major League Baseball, you could argue that these 2 organizations are 2 of the biggest blights on that league that is trying to rebuild its image. It's trying to gain more of a foothold in our collective sports consciousness. The Rockies, for obvious reasons, right? They are starting a season in which they could lose 100 games for the 3rd straight year. And it was just a couple of years ago that we could never say that the Rockies had lost 100 games. So from a non-competitive standpoint, it's not great for the league. And then you have the Rays. And I understand why they're in a spring training stadium, right? And I'm not trying to talk about what ultimately forced them out. But for years now, the Tampa Bay Rays have been kind of a punchline with Major League Baseball, right? Their low attendance, bad stadium, and they can't get it figured out, right? They've played they've discussed playing some of their games in Montreal, and now they're playing at a spring training facility. It's not a great look because the Tampa Bay Rays could get into the postseason. Now, remember this when And the A's are too, but they're not going to get anywhere close to the playoffs, so they don't have to worry about this with them. You think back to when the Blue Jays, because of the travel bans, travel restrictions during COVID, they had to play in a minor league park. We all accepted that, right? It was a crazy time. That it is what it is. This is an organization that has kicked the can down the road for so many years, not addressing their biggest issue, which is their attendance, their stadium, all that kind of stuff. And now finally, because of Mother Nature, they've been forced to play not just at any spring training stadium. They've been forced to play at the spring training stadium of the New York Yankees, a division rival. Could you imagine the Rockies hanging out at Vero Beach for an entire season? It's a terrible look for the league. So I do think that there's something fitting, because I think you want as few people as possible to be on hand to take in what is going on with these two organizations right now in Major League Baseball. But I think that there's another reason why this is fitting. And I go back to, it was a Mark Kisla column in the Gazette with a couple weeks left in spring training, where he sat down with Dick Monfort. And one thing I will say about Dick Monfort, he understands that everybody that is in media that has a microphone, has a pen, eviscerates him every single year. He understands that. And yet he's still, probably not as much as we would like him to, but he is willing to talk about what is going on with his franchise. And so I have to give him a minimal amount of credit for that. So he's talking to Mark Kisla during a Rocky spring training game. And he's sitting there talking about how unfair Major League Baseball has become in the wake of the Los Angeles Dodgers, right? In the same division as the Rockies. They're deferring all this money. Not only do they have more money than anybody else, but they're finding these loopholes to be able to kick the can down the road and not have to pay everybody all at once. And he's not the only owner complaining. But the way that he puts it is, well, we have no chance, right? When the Dodgers are paying the money they are, and of course you bring up the Yankees, the Mets now with Steve Cohen have a blank checkbook, and this idea that these teams, they can't compete. They can write all the checks within their power, and they still won't be able to compete. And in Dick Monfort, perhaps the vision of signing Chris Bryant is becoming more clear, where he could say, hey, I spent top of market for this guy, and I still can't even get close to the top of my division. But what he fails to acknowledge, the Rockies last year were 17th in payroll. Given their market size, I would say that's a respectable number. Now, you could say that Coors Field is full and they generate so much revenue out of that, and they should be paying more. But for market size, let's be fair here, 17th, it's not bad. Not far off to where you expect a Denver team to be paying. 12 of the 13 teams below them in payroll last year had a better record than the Colorado Rockies. The only exception is the Chicago White Sox. Everybody else had a better record than the Colorado Rockies. In fact, there were multiple playoff teams. The Brewers, the Orioles. So, yes, there is a bigger conversation about what the Dodgers mean to competitive balance. And we'll find out this year, because no team has gone back-to-back World Series since the year 2000. Okay, so if the Dodgers do end up winning the World Series again and doing it convincingly as they did last year, then we can bring all of this back up. But I would argue that's not the Rockies' problem. And they don't need to look any further than the team that they are sharing a spring training stadium with right as we speak. For all Tampa's faults in terms of the inability to draw fans, the inability to get the stadium right, in a division with teams like the Yankees and the Red Sox, they still find a way to compete every single year. So is the issue payroll disparity, or is it the intellectual capital that is employed at 20th and Blake? That is the real issue here. Because a team like the Tampa Bay Rays, if they want to complain about the payroll disparity, I'm all ears, right? Because they're doing everything they can on the field with their payroll to make it work. If the Baltimore Orioles, if they sustain this with Jackson Holliday and Adley Rutschman, and they sustain success and they still can't find a way to get around the New York Yankees, then I'm all ears. But how about the Rockies first do better with the payroll that they have? Invest it more wisely than they do. It's easy for these owners to throw up their hands and saying, we can't compete. But you can't even compete with other teams that have the same payroll. The Los Angeles Angels didn't have Mike Trout for most of last year. They got nothing in return for Shohei Ohtani and still ended up winning more games than the Colorado Rockies. So if there ever comes a day where the Colorado Rockies have the pipeline of talent that the Orioles have, or they're able to get production out of these retread free agents like the Rays consistently do, and they have a great farm system as well, then we can have this conversation. But you look at this lineup that the Rockies are throwing out there today. Jordan Beck is in the lineup. He hit under 200 last year. Okay, the bullpen has been abysmal. So you look at this team and you say they have no pipeline of talent. They've had a couple, right? Ezekiel Tovar, you feel really good about moving forward. They just took one of their brightest spots from last year, Nolan Jones, or he had a down year last year, but one of the guys that you thought was on the come up that maybe the Rockies could have something in him for years to come. 2 weeks before the season starts, they trade him for a utility infielder. So you miss me with this, we can't compete with the Los Angeles Dodgers. How about you just compete with other teams with a similar payroll? How about you compete with the Arizona Diamondbacks before you worry about, slaying Goliath? And it's intellectually dishonest for Dick Monfort to throw up his hands and say the reason why we are where we are right now is because of the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Dodgers have nothing to do with it. It has everything to do, and the impetus of this, the tipping point for this organization. That trade, getting nothing in return, and proceeding to not acquire any talent, not build up their farm system, not do anything for the years after the Nolan Arenado trade. That's why you are where you are right now. And it's so sad to hear that coming from the Rockies owner, because I was having this conversation with Ray earlier about, the start of baseball season and how so many people around here have a tough time getting into it, because when your team in a sport like baseball, when your team isn't good, your interest level is down. All the Rockies would have to do is be a 500 team. I went to Coors Field for years with my family to watch teams that had no shot of winning the division, no shot of winning a World Series, and they were playing around 500 ball. Yeah, they made some mistakes. Yeah, they were at times devoid of talent. But you know what? They were 5 games under 500, and Coors Field was packed. People were into it. People were discussing what the Rockies need to do to take the next step. It is more than any other team, except for maybe the Denver Broncos. Rockies fans need the least amount to get them engaged. They need so very little to buy in. The Nuggets for years had good teams and they couldn't draw. They had good teams and they couldn't get talked about. They had to do so much to get the interest level to where it is right now. The Rockies need so very little. And it has nothing to do with slaying the Dodgers or making a World Series or even winning a division. It's just being competitive. It's just giving you a reason to tune in each and every day. And they haven't the last 2 years. They say that hope springs eternal. I think spring's a little bit less eternal, if that's the right way to put it, after you've had back-to-back 100-loss seasons and your owner is out there crying poverty. Take your thoughts, 719-247-1313. Here's a bright spot for the Rockies on opening day. Kyle Freeland's kind of dealing, although he's in a bit of a jam. Well, no, only a runner on first. 2-0 Rockies. Buy in now. Ryan Kaufman coming your way live from Trainwreck, 812 South Sierra Madre. Come out, say hi, and don't forget what is tonight? Friday. So this should be a proper 12 giveaway night from 6 to 8. Wait, no, that's 21st. They got a lot of stuff going on. I got to sort through it all. We'll take a break, come back. Let's talk about the Avs. Less depressing. And I think when it comes to the Colorado Avalanche, I think I've seen all I need to see. And I'll explain further next here on Extra Sports 1300. Welcome back. Drive Time Sports live from Trainwreck, 812 South Sierra Madre, just a couple blocks south of Widener Field. Come check out their new loyalty program. If you sign up for Trainwreck Rewards program in the month of March, which you don't have much time left in March, you could be entered to win 2 tickets to a Nuggets game with accommodations, as in hotel people. It's free to join, and you'll earn rewards every time you visit. The winner will be announced on April 7th. I feel like we'll be here on April 7th. So don't miss your chance. Sign up today right here at Trainwreck and get rewarded. I don't know about you. I've seen all I need to see from the Colorado Avalanche. Well, we have like 9 games left. I'm good. I'm good. There's after last night's dominating performance over one of the hottest teams in the NHL, the LA Kings. I've seen all I need to see. There is literally nothing that the Avalanche can do between now and the end of the season to prove to me that they're any more ready to win a Stanley Cup. Right? The way they are playing right now, 11 straight wins at home. They've lost once in regulation in their last 11 games now. And again, they took an LA team that I know is not on the Avs level. They're kind of that second tier if we're talking about Dallas, Winnipeg, Colorado, Edmonton being the top tier in the West. The Kings are, to me, kind of a notch below that, maybe along with Vegas. Watch out for St. Louis. They're going to be a difficult out. But they took a team like that is a step down, but not that far of a step down, and just dominated them from start to finish. It wasn't even a competitive game. Mackenzie Blackwood was fantastic. Marty Necas with a 3.9, including 2 goals. I've seen all I need to see. Told you about Jared Bednar, how he's starting to keep Nathan MacKinnon off the ice a little bit more over the last few games. So Jared Bednar certainly has his mind on making sure that Nathan MacKinnon, his best player, is ready to go for the playoffs. But everyone's working out great. Like, there isn't Brock Nelson, Jack Drury, Lindgren is doing exactly what Chris McFarland and Jared Bednar thought he was going to do. If they gave him less of a role, they could maximize his talent. He's been that. Necas is fit in like a glove. Everybody's good. Everybody's fit in. I don't have any issue with the fit of any of these guys that have been brought in. Everything that is going to determine how far the Colorado Avalanche go cannot be shown in the regular season. Mackenzie Blackwood has never played in the postseason. Do I wonder about him? Yeah, I do. Do I wonder that for a third straight year they'll be without Valeri Nichushkin at the worst possible time? Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not over that. I'm going to wonder. Do I still wonder if all of this, the chemistry and everything like that, the Avs making the slew of moves, completely rebuilding the roster on the fly during the season, it is going to be enough for them to win sports' hardest trophy to win? Yeah, I still wonder about that a little bit, but I don't worry about the fit. I don't worry about how they play off of each other and the roles they play. Everything about this Avs team and how viable they are as a contender is only going to be answered once the postseason begins. There's nothing else they can do over the last 9 games. So to me, first and foremost, make sure everybody's healthy. Jared Bednar's doing what he can to make sure that happens. Okay? Second thing, are they going to get home ice against Dallas? I want to see if they do that. And Nathan MacKinnon winning back-to-back MVPs, which he is going to do. It's just how well will he solidify his case over the last 9 games. That's what the last 9 games are about. It has nothing about how far this Avalanche team will go. And even you look at Dallas, and they're playing great right now. But Pete DeBoer is unsure of whether Miro Heiskanen is going to play in the first round. Avs beat Dallas. The more I watch this team, the more I'm like, we just got to wait for the playoffs. I would like them to have home ice against Dallas. So that's something to watch out for down the stretch. But I can't. There are no more questions to be answered, or no more questions that can be answered about this team over the last 9 games. Unless they fall off of some sort of cliff, and they're not going to do that. Okay, I hate always putting in these doomsday scenarios. There's 9 games left. The Avs are going to maintain their level of play. Are they going to be unbeatable the last 9 games? No, they're going to drop a couple of games. But I'm not going to be held hostage by one bad night down the stretch. They have proven themselves. Yes, they are every bit the top tier contender. Dallas, Winnipeg, Edmonton, and the Avs. That's what it is. And we'll find out. And we'll find out come playoff time. But you juxtapose that with the Denver Nuggets, I still want to see things. I still have to find out some more stuff. I talked about this yesterday. The starting 5 has now only been together for 21 games, which is still more time than this Avs team has been together, by the way. I need to see more of it, especially on the defensive end, because when those guys are all together, their defensive efficiency rating is in the top 5. But I want to see more of it. The Avs, their work is done. Good on them. Everybody was wondering, how is this all going to come together? How are they going to look? Can they beat Dallas? Yeah, they beat them. Last night, marquee game, national television, going up against a team that's just as hot as they are. Shut them down. Kings didn't have a chance last night. And this is the way that the Avs have played for about the last dozen games. Just they are a wagon. And now we find out if they could be that wagon when the playoffs begin. That's all there is left with this Avalanche team. But enjoy the ride. I mean, from an entertainment value standpoint, the Avs are delivering on an every night basis. I'm not saying don't watch this team. I'm just saying I'm not going to wonder. There's nothing to wonder about until the playoffs roll around. The Avs have done everything they can. Take your thoughts on that. 719-247-1313. Or you could just come down here to Trainwreck and tell me what you think in person. I mean, be nice about it because I'm fragile, but come down here. 812 South Sierra Madre. Check out the golf simulators run by City Golf. They got a grand opening special going on. $200 for a month, includes an hour a day every day that you can come here and use one of their simulator bays. They got pretty much any golf course you could think of, including the Broadmoor. Not all of us are lucky enough to be able to golf on the Broadmoor. Next best thing here at City Golf at Trainwreck. We'll take a break and have more here on Extra Sports 1300. Drive Time Sports live from Trainwreck, 812 South Sierra Madre. Text coming in from Brett, where he says the last month that I have spent with being angry about the way that the Avs handled the Mikko Rantanen trade, or the fact that they traded him. What a waste. It's hard for me to argue against that, right? Because Marty Necas last night continues to fit in great, but he's another one, right? Like Mikko Rantanen helped the Avs win a Stanley Cup. Marty Necas has not helped the Carolina Hurricanes win a Stanley Cup yet. So, but my biggest thing with the Mikko Rantanen thing was just how they handled it more than anything else. Right? I just thought that he deserved better given how much he meant to the organization, and to be blindsided by a trade, I didn't think that was the best way to go about things. And I still have questions whether Marty Necas is going to be as good of a player as Mikko Rantanen. But Necas has fit in great, right? I have no if you're an Avs fan, you can have no complaints about Marty Necas. He's fit in great. And it helps when Mikko Rantanen is going through it like he is in Dallas. He's not having a great time, just like he wasn't having a great time in Carolina. So it's easy to put the two of them up and go, see? Yeah, when you're playing with the best player, one of the best players in the world, you're going to be better than when you're not. Marty Necas looks better with Nathan MacKinnon than he was in Carolina. Mikko Rantanen looks worse elsewhere than he was playing next to Nathan MacKinnon. I think we get caught sometimes comparing, and it's like, you know what Mikko Rantanen was in Colorado. You didn't have a lot of complaints about him either. He looked pretty good. But yeah, the Avs put everything to bed that could be possibly brought up for the rest of this season. Let's get on to the playoffs. Fast forward. I don't need the rest of these games. Let's go. It's going to be Dallas. We know that. I guess they got to figure out home ice, which I would like the Avs to have. Shifting across the hall at Ball Arena to the Denver Nuggets, we don't have any idea who they're going to play, when they're going to play them, whether they're going to have home court. There's still a lot to figure out with the Denver Nuggets before we get to the postseason. But there is a possibility that the Nuggets and the Grizzlies will meet up in the first round. And when they do, I think they even play Memphis before the season's up. But they could play in a series, and Memphis today has fired their head coach, Taylor Jenkins. I know Memphis definitely is the one Western Conference team that nobody has talked about this season. You notice that? Obviously, everyone talks about OKC, the Lakers, the Wolves, the Nuggets, the Warriors. Not a lot of talk about the Clippers, I would say. Kings, they did fire their coach, and they made some trades, so they've been talked about. Nobody has talked about Memphis this entire time. Like, they're just completely under the radar. So I don't know if that has finally gotten to them, and they're like, dang it, you're going to talk about us. So they fired Taylor Jenkins, who is now the franchise all-time winningest coach. I don't think that's why, but I really don't have a better explanation. This came completely out of left field. It makes zero sense. I was just talking during the break to Ray. Like, either he has done something very bad, and I don't want to go there. And I'm not talking criminal bad, but like, did he go to the owner and like chew him out or tell him to, go somewhere that the owner would very much not like to go for eternity? I don't know. Or this, we see this sometimes with teams that know what they're going to do next at head coach. Like they have an idea of what they want to do. So before you get into the postseason and maybe Memphis wins the series or something and it becomes increasingly more difficult to fire Taylor Jenkins, and now you're stuck because you really want to move on to this specific coach. And if Memphis surprises some people, then it's going to be harder for Memphis to do that. Who is that coach? I mean, Mike Krzyzewski's not walking through that door. Who do the Grizzlies have in mind? Are the Grizzlies really throwing in the towel and saying there is no chance, despite where we stand, despite the fact that we could have home court in the first round? There's no way we're getting out of the West? Because it's too late to tank. I am fascinated to find out why this happened, because no one saw this coming. It makes zero sense to do it with 10 games left in the or whatever it is, a dozen games left in the regular season. The Memphis Grizzlies right now are fifth in the West in a virtual tie with the Lakers. Do they look at that series and like, LeBron and Luka, we have no chance? That would be the most defeatist attitude I've ever seen. Like they just now got Ja Morant back, right? They've been toiling without Ja Morant for the last couple of years. They have him now, and they're like, yep, we're done here. New coach. It's bizarre what's going on in Memphis. Now, I will say this. Memphis, I was not even thinking about as a potential, even a dark horse contender in the West. But that's no reason to fire your head coach, who has gotten you to this point, by the way. And I don't know who's going to fire their coach. The first call is going to be to Taylor Jenkins. He's going to get picked up immediately if he wants to take a job. Weird. Nuggets right now, game and a half up on the Los Angeles Lakers for the third seed, for those of you who are interested in that. Nuggets taking on Utah tonight, who are trying desperately to get Cooper Flag. And after last night's performance, who could blame them? And now that I think about it, I don't know Memphis's draft situation, but maybe they should have fired Taylor Jenkins and been taking this whole time. Because if you're not going to compete for a title, if you're not a serious title contender, you might as well be going after Cooper Flag. But Nuggets game and a half up on the Lakers. And they play Utah tonight. That lead over LA should not shrink after tonight. I think that goes without saying. Who's going to be missing tonight, Ray? Jamal? Okay. Well, Nikola Jokic said he's not worried about it. So, no Jamal Murray tonight. Should still be enough to beat Utah, by the way. I have, speaking of the National Basketball Association, I have willfully tried to ignore the discourse right now in the National Basketball Association. I can't any longer. I'd be derelict in my duty because everyone else on the national level, on social media, everybody's talking about this, and I would just seem like I am out of the zeitgeist if I did not discuss what has been going on with LeBron James and Stephen A. Smith. Adam Silver yesterday said something to the effect of, that when other leagues are talking about their games, it's a more celebratory thing than what it is right now in the NBA. And this goes back to LeBron James' comments about the face of the league and how no one wants to be it because everybody dumps on everything that you do if you're the face of the league. Everybody hates everything. And then he does this sit down, I don't know, was it 2-hour sit down with Pat McAfee where he's taking shots at everybody that he could possibly take shots? Like, that is, it is so him, by the way, to complain that the discourse surrounding the NBA is so negative and then add to it with that conversation he had with Pat McAfee. And what is going on? But there are no winners in the LeBron versus Stephen A. That they are both huge losers the way they are handling this. And it has to do with LeBron confronting him and all this kind of stuff. Adam Silver, he has to do something. ESPN is their television partner. It is getting so toxic, and that network is leading the charge to make the discourse surrounding the NBA as toxic as it has become. It's not you and I. Okay, we want to find things to celebrate, right? We're talking about the generational run that Nikola Jokic is having. We want to talk about how they match up with Minnesota. But ESPN is causing all of this. And Adam Silver, as the league commissioner, has got to step in. I'm not saying he's got to censor, but there's got to be some kind of come to Jesus with all these guys and say, this is not good for any of us. You have got to stop this. And it's the embodiment of the guy in the hot dog costume from I Think You Should Leave. We're trying to figure out why LeBron and ESPN's trying to figure out why everybody is hating on the NBA. Look at what they're doing. Look at what they're saying. Look at what this has turned into. Would Stephen A. actually swing at LeBron James? I mean, it's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic that the face of the NBA, and make no mistake about it, LeBron James is the face of the NBA. Anytime you want to deviate and ask a question, you inevitably go back to LeBron. And in the highest profile personality in sports media, bickering back and forth like this is pathetic. And it's why the discourse has gotten to where it is. And it's getting to the point where it's not, how is the NBA going to survive once LeBron James is gone? It's getting to the point where the NBA could be better off when he's gone. If this is what he's going to spend his time at the end of his great career doing and what he's going to turn himself into, then the NBA might be better moving on. Maybe that's the only way that the discourse will be less toxic or that people will actually enjoy talking about the NBA. This is what, with 10 games left, 12 games left, this is the biggest story in the NBA. And this is as much on ESPN as anything, right? What network is Pat McAfee on? ESPN. What is Stephen A. Smith on? ESPN. Who employs Brian Windhorst? ESPN. I thought that was the most unfair thing that LeBron did. I know that Brian Windhorst is where he is in large part because of his him following LeBron James and his connection to him. But to call him out like that when Brian Windhorst has never said anything about being LeBron's best friend, that's weak. And this, of course, is the same network that employs Kendrick Perkins. And I don't have to tell you what Kendrick Perkins has done to the MVP debate over the last few years. This is the network partner that airs these games. And this is the conversation that they would more like to engage in. I thought when Luka Doncic went to the Los Angeles Lakers, it had a chance to save this NBA season. Ratings are down, interest is down. People, all they want to do is badmouth the NBA. And here comes out of the blue, Luka Doncic landing with the Los Angeles Lakers. And I thought because of how people would talk about how this changes things in the West, in the landscape of the NBA, and LeBron and Luka and how they get along, I thought it was a lifeline that was thrown to Adam Silver and ESPN, to the point where I wondered for a moment whether Adam Silver helped, let's say, make Luka happen in LA. Like, it got to that point. Like, what a gift being given to the NBA, Luka landing in Los Angeles. And that stuck around for about 2 weeks. And then all of this comes about. And they wonder why. Adam Silver wonders why people just are over the NBA. Look at what the face of your league and your biggest television partner are doing on a daily basis. No winners here, only losers. Coming up next, let's talk winners. Because you know who's a winner? Colorado football for hiring Deion Sanders. You know who's also a winner? Deion Sanders for getting absolutely paid today. We'll talk about that next. Drive Time Sports live from Trainwreck on Extra Sports 1300. Welcome in, Drive Time Sports on this Friday. Ryan Kaufman coming your way live from Trainwreck, 812 South Sierra Madre. Here for the next hour, probably a little bit after. I'm gonna see if Ray wants to join me for a bite after the show is over. But come out and see us. The obviously Sweet 16 continues tonight. Last night was fun. That was fun. It didn't. I mean, RIP to me saying, what did I say yesterday? The most likely upset is BYU, and the most likely team to cover was Texas Tech. This is why I haven't gotten the better of Vegas. Although, to be fair, who saw what happened with BYU and Alabama coming? Apparently Nate Oates, because he said after the game, like all they watched on film was BYU going underneath screens, and they're like, if they do that, we're going to rain all over them, and they did. I've never seen a shooting performance like Alabama had last night. And conversely, I have seen very few shooting performances as bad as BYU last night. So sometimes you say something's going to happen, and you look back and you're like, I just flat out got that wrong. I had the wrong information. I blame BYU. Because nobody saw that kind of a performance coming. We all knew that the 3-point line was going to be important, but my goodness, that disparity. That was crazy. And then a great finish to the Texas Tech and Arkansas game. And now we go back and forth, right? One round, Calipari can coach with the best of them. Next round, Calipari doesn't know what he's doing. And we go back and forth. Right? Wasn't it in the SEC title game or SEC tournament where he wanted his player was at the line with a chance to make it a 4-point game with like less than 3 seconds left. And he instructed his player to miss the free throw on purpose because his opponent wouldn't have time to set up and try a last-minute heave. Ignoring the fact that if you hit both free throws and make it a 4-point game, the game is effectively over. So just when we think maybe Coach Cal can coach, some questionable decisions last night from John Calipari as Texas Tech able to move on. And then Cooper Flagg is he's special. He's every bit the player that we all hyped him up to be. And maybe then some, honestly. So we'll see what the second half of the Sweet 16 brings our way. Come check it out on the stadium-sized TV here at Trainwreck. There are plenty of other TVs that will have plenty of other sporting events. A lot of them have the Rockies right now who are trying to reclaim the lead after they gave it up. Catch the fever. Big news today. Not that it is exactly surprising that this has happened, but I don't think I was looking out for it today, and that is Deion Sanders signing an extension with the Colorado Buffaloes that will make him one of the top 5 highest paid coaches in college football. And this is the realization of what CU thought this could be and what Deion Sanders, in his mind, because we know Deion Sanders doesn't hurt for confidence, knew would happen or deeply believed would happen. And I remember saying when they made this move and they brought in Deion Sanders, and it wasn't like there were a lot of takers. They were outbidding, one, maybe 2 teams? I said, if this works, and Deion Sanders brings Colorado back to relevance and wins football games, then he will absolutely be worth every penny that they pay him. And now they're going to pay him a lot of pennies. He absolutely deserves this. Because he's the rebuild at CU, and I think a couple years in, people understand a little bit better. But you understand better than many what the state of affairs was with Colorado football. Right? They had been jilted by Mel Tucker. It brought in Darrell. It was good for that one pandemic year, and then it got terrible. This was an irrelevant program, and not just nationally. I mean, we could talk about the stage that they have arrived on nationally and how that has benefited. They weren't even relevant locally, right? They weren't even relevant here in Colorado. And Deion Sanders has brought them to relevance locally, nationally, maybe even globally. And when you do that, while, by the way, also improving quite a bit year over year, you deserve what Deion Sanders got today in terms of a contract. Now, that being said, with that extension, it makes this season even more interesting and even more important for Deion Sanders. Because he is going into uncharted territory. He will not have Shedeur. He will not have Travis. And he is being paid like Kirby Smart, like Ryan Day. This causes, as any extension does, causes the expectation level to go up. And this is the year they're paying him this extension now, leading into a year that there's a lot of questions surrounding this program and whether Deion Sanders can do it without Shedeur and without Travis Hunter. Now, I think you have to see some signs last season where you're less worried about that if you're a Buffs fan. I think Deion Sanders, in addition to his team improving year over year, I think he's gotten better as a coach. He's done a better job of putting the right staff around him. He's I think, shrugged off a lot of that, or gotten a lot of that idea that he's just like this figurehead. I think that Deion Sanders has grown as a coach as he's adjusted to this new level of college football. But with all this money, a lot of people are going to be ready to sharpen the knives. This has been, if you think about it, this has been a pretty mild offseason. Not a lot of talk about Deion leaving, not a lot of talk about, how he's a fraud or whether he's not going to be able to do it. Like we haven't had a lot of that going on. It's been pretty quiet, which is weird given that Deion Sanders, last time I checked, still the head coach of the Colorado Buffaloes. Perhaps we're a little bit more fixated on what his former players are going to be in the NFL. But trust me, that noise is going to start up again during the summer as we approach the start of the season. And this will be another piece of it, right? He will not have Shedeur. He will not have the Heisman Trophy winner. It will be a different looking in the most important spots, or in terms of who you think of when you think of this Colorado program, those faces are going to be different. And how he handles the quarterback situation. They bring in the transfer from Liberty, who I expect to start this year. But you also have Juju Lewis, who you were able to secure as your quarterback of the future whenever that future does come around. They've hit the portal, maybe not as much as they did the year prior, but there are going to be a lot of new faces. And the players that you think of with CU are not there anymore. And you throw this extension on top of it, this is going to be a fascinating year in Boulder. In a year where Deion Sanders is going to have to prove it again. And it's life in college football. Now, he hasn't lost a ton of players through the portal, but he's lost his players to natural means, if you will, right? He's losing him to the NFL. We always look at college coaches when they lose top-tier players. All right, what are you going to do next? How are you going to sustain it? And I don't know if Deion Sanders, the way I look at it, Deion Sanders doesn't have to win more games than he did last year. That's not the expectation I have on him. Got to be bowl eligible. To me, I think this year the Buffs have to maintain. Right? They have to be about what they were last year in terms of their standing in the Big 12, in terms of bowl eligibility, in terms of the number of wins. They don't necessarily have to win more. They don't have to take a step closer to the college football playoff, but they got to be in the conversation in the Big 12. They can't regress in a significant way, even though they lost Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders. This has to be a year where they maintain, where the bottom doesn't fall out. Because if they don't maintain, sure, there are going to be some people who will say, oh, well, it's year 3. Deion Sanders has got to get going. It doesn't always work like that when you're replacing players the caliber of Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. But you can't go backwards. You can't struggle through this season. Because then people are going to immediately bring up the extension and say, were the Buffs a little bit too quick to do this? Are they paying him too much money? But it also works the other way as well. I saw a tweet from Jordan Seaton, who famously said, if you're not a dog, if you think you're a dog, why aren't you coming to Boulder? He tweeted out something today after the announcement and said, what's keeping you from coming around now? What's keeping you from coming here now? Right? Because we've had these two tracks running next to each other, right? There's the track of inevitably Deion Sanders is going to be exposed as a fraud, and he's not going to be where all the people who are doubting him are going to be proven right. And then you have this other track, which is Deion Sanders leaving for a bigger program. Right? Depending on how you feel about Deion Sanders. If you believe in Deion Sanders, depends on what track you are on. So Jordan Seaton saying, we can put all that to bed now, right? Deion Sanders, he said time and time again, he doesn't want to go anywhere. He's comfortable. CU further made him comfortable by giving him this extension. Why would Deion Sanders want to go anywhere else? Because the contracts that college football and basketball coaches sign are not worth the paper they are printed on. You think that if Deion Sanders takes this team to the college football playoff, that it's going to stop anybody in the country from paying his exit fee? You think it's going to keep Jerry Jones from paying his buyout? It will not. If Deion Sanders takes a team that does not have any of his kids on it and does not have a generational unicorn two-way player in Travis Hunter on it, and they get closer to the college football playoff, they get closer to a national championship, there will be no shortage of programs that would be happy to pay whatever buyout exists in Deion Sanders' contract. I'm sorry, that's just the way that college sports works. And you're seeing it right now in basketball. It just doesn't matter. But what you're doing if you're CU is you're saying, we're rewarding you. You've been everything that we could have hoped for and more, and we are going to pay you like one of the 5 most important coaches in college football, because Deion Sanders absolutely is one of the 5 most important coaches in college football. And we're showing you that we're doing everything we can to make sure that you stay comfortable, that you stay committed, that you don't get that wandering eye. But there is nothing CU can do to keep Deion Sanders from moving if he has the will to do so. And if another institution has a way monetarily to make it happen. There's just nothing. It's just the way it works. But this is a commitment from Deion Sanders. This is Deion Sanders by signing on the dotted line saying, backing up everything that he's said. And he's been absolutely consistent in all of it. But those questions are always going to exist. Perhaps you feel a little bit more comfortable if you're a recruit or you're a transfer saying Deion Sanders is going to be around for a little while. But there's always going to be outside suitors. There's always going to be that question. It just depends on how loud that noise is. And certainly with this extension today, the noise quiets down. So Deion Sanders being paid every penny he deserves to, because you can't name 5 coaches in college football that are more important and maybe have done a better job at their current institution than Deion Sanders, considering where Colorado football was just a couple of years ago. Take your thoughts, 719-247-1313, or you could swing by here at Trainwreck, 812 South Sierra Madre. Make sure that you plan, even if it's not tonight, you plan on watching. We got the Elite Eight starting tomorrow. We go right from the Sweet 16 to the Elite Eight. This is a place you want to watch it. Also, Switchbacks will be back home in about a week from tomorrow. Make sure you join the folks here at Trainwreck for the ultimate Switchbacks tailgate party before the next home game. Enjoy cold drinks, great food, and game day energy with your fellow fans. And they're kicking off the fun before every home game this season. So don't miss out. Grab your crew, come early, and tailgate with the folks here at Trainwreck, 812 South Sierra Madre. Coming up next on Drive Time Sports, I have 3 words for the Denver Broncos when it comes to their draft plans. Treat yourself. Welcome back. Drive Time Sports live from Trainwreck, 812 South Sierra Madre. Make sure you sign up for the Trainwreck Rewards program here in the month of March and be entered to win 2 tickets to a Nuggets game with accommodations. It's free to join and you'll earn rewards every time you visit. The winner will be announced on April 7th, so don't miss your chance. Sign up today at Trainwreck and get rewarded. We've been talking a lot, obviously, about the NFL draft, and we're going to talk more and more about the draft as we get closer, especially when the calendar turns to April. And I have decided, in a general sense, what I would like the Denver Broncos to do, what I think that the Denver Broncos should do in the draft. And this is not positional. If you are a fan of the show Parks and Recreation, and to me, you're either a fan of Parks and Recreation or you've never seen it. Because how could you not like that show? There is an episode. It's kind of a running thing they do once a season where 2 of the characters, one played by Aziz Ansari, has a treat yourself day where he and a coworker named Donna go and just do things they don't need to do and buy things they don't need to buy. They're splurging, right? It's rewarding themselves once a year by acting somewhat foolishly. And there's one episode when Adam Scott, if you're a Severance fan, Adam Scott is in it, and he's kind of uptight, and they get him to loosen up and do the treat yourself, and he ends up buying himself a full, legitimate Batman costume. I would like the Denver Broncos. I think the Denver Broncos have earned the right to treat themselves. So I am telling Sean Payton and George Payton, coming up in about a month, treat yourself. Think about it. The Denver Broncos have done everything right post Russell Wilson. Right? They made the decision that they were going to move off of him, which was the right decision. They underwent a culture change, a bit of a roster purge in the process, but they get Bo Nix. They make the playoffs for the first time since Super Bowl 50. They have re-energized the fan base. They went out this offseason in free agency, and they didn't spend like drunk sailors. They didn't spend like the New England Patriots. They were very measured in their approach. They were very specific about what they wanted. They saved some money, right, at safety and at inside linebacker. They go and they don't pay top of market, but they get 2 really good players that, if they're healthy, they're going to exactly be what the Denver Broncos need them to be. They have their quarterback of the future. They got the Joker, right, which was the biggest item of business. They got Evan Ingram, the guy that I said immediately fit the description. They went out and got him the moment he was released by the Jacksonville Jaguars. And they have, from a roster perspective, they have put themselves in a position where you look at this draft and there is nothing that is just glaring. Yes, there are positions you would like to see the Denver Broncos address: wide receiver, running back, perhaps some depth on the defensive line, maybe some secondary help. It's not to say that the Broncos don't have a shopping list in the draft, but I'm talking about when it comes to pick 20. What I want the Denver Broncos to do is I want them to land somebody that when hopefully we're here at Trainwreck, folks here at Trainwreck listening, powers that be, we're here again for the draft. I want this place to be going crazy. You know why? Because the Denver Broncos have picked up an awesome player, and everyone in this building knows exactly who they are. I want the Denver Broncos to treat themselves more than anything else. Now, I have some opinions on the best way to do that. I think trading up for Tyler Warren, if he were to fall, would apply. Or maybe trading up to get McMillan, the wide receiver out of Arizona. That is treating themselves. But I'll even say this. It won't be how I would do things. But you know what? If Ashton Jeanty is available at 20, my advice to the Denver Broncos, treat yourself. If you like this guy, then get him. Then get him. It wouldn't be, the Rockies just got walked off. Amazing. Amazing. The duality of Colorado sports. Am I right? Talking about the Denver Broncos treating themselves, and the Colorado Rockies are walked off in the bottom of the ninth by the Tampa Bay Rays. First pitch from their new closer, Boatnick. All right, let me get back. Ray, you're distracting me from the task at hand. That's the whole point of it, because I saw your reaction, Ray. Ray had a visceral reaction when I brought up Ashton Jeanty. And you know what? You and I are of like mind. And I've spent hours on these airwaves talking about how I would not be the biggest believer in Ashton Jeanty. And also I would want the Denver Broncos to utilize the depth at running back and get something else. But you know what? If they looked at him, because the Broncos running back coach was in Boise, I think they had his pro day at Boise, right? I think that's would be customary. And they saw Ashton Jeanty running around, and they're like, we love that guy, then get him. You know what? Get him. And I would look at it, and I would sit here, and I would say, I don't know that was the best use of the 20th pick. But then I would immediately say, you know what? Treat yourself. And that's what that episode of Parks and Rec is all about. Okay? Adam Scott's character, who I just, not for nothing, identify on a deep level with. He doesn't want to get massages. Not a big massage guy either. He doesn't want to get acupuncture. Acupuncture scares me. I don't want to do those things. He wants to have a treat yourself day that applies to him. So he buys a Batman costume, which his coworkers don't understand. They think it looks absolutely ridiculous, but that's the spirit of the day. To treat yourself. And that's because of the Denver Broncos and everything they have done up until this point. They have been frugal. They have been measured in their approach. They have done the right things. Bo Nix developed from game one to the end of the season. They reached the playoffs. Their win total is now up to 9.5 as opposed to 5.5 last year. So much has gone right for George Payton and Sean Payton that they deserve at 20 to splurge. They deserve at 20 to take the best player that they see on the board, regardless of position. You want to put another lockdown corner opposite of Pat Surtain, you go and do that. You want to get yourself another pass rusher, you go and do that. Heck, if Shedeur Sanders is available at 20, and you want to draft him and find a way to move on from Bo Nix, go ahead. You have earned the right, Denver Broncos, to treat yourself at number 20. And then after pick 20, because Treat Yourself Day is the Thursday of the draft. Friday, you come in and you're back to being responsible. You're back to addressing needs of this football team. But for pick 20, splurge. You love Ashton Genty. I don't love him, but you love him. Go for it. That's what it's all about. And the Broncos, I think, have earned that. I have opinions, and I will share them on what I think they should do, but they have earned the right to treat themselves at pick 20. Coming up next, we'll do a little magic money lines with Jeff Haber, Sweet 16 tonight. And how's Jeffrey feeling about his Mets one game in? Enough to maybe put a few shekels down for them to win it all? We'll talk a little MLB futures and Sweet 16 on Magic Money Lines with Jeff Haber coming up next on Extra Sports 1300. Welcome back, Drive Time Sports, live from Trainwreck 812 South Sierra Madre. Show ending at the top of the hour here. Then it'll be the Sweet 16 and our coverage from Westwood 1. So, in the meantime, let's spend some time talking about these games and maybe some baseball futures as well. You could kill the music, DJ. Joined now by Jeff Haber for this week's Magic Moneyline segment. Jeff, we're doing this through the wonder of technology, uh, which is the best thing for you, and you don't have to say any differently. Let's start with baseball because you're a Mets guy. What kind of bets have you been eyeing, or have you already locked in when it comes to the Fighting Juan Sotos this season? It's got to be. Oh, what was it? Yeah, yeah, that's yeah. Even despite the loss. Mhm. Mhm. Um, but you buried the lead. Where's your World Series bet? Are you that high on your Metropolitans or no? We just you saw this like we did. Saw the Rockies get walked off, so they are on pace right now for 162 losses. I can do that math in my head. Um, the win total this year for Colorado is 59 and a half, which makes it a little tricky, right? Because I think what most people are anticipating is, oh, absolutely, they're going to lose 100 games again. It's going to be 3 straight seasons of it. But they can hit the over and still lose 100 games. Where would you go, Jeff, when it comes to Rockies win total, over or under 59 and a half, which would mean, let's see, 103 losses? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I just think you would feel like you're throwing your money away if you backed the Rockies. I mean, this is the definition of an emotional hedge, right? You're going to bet the under and hope, if you're a Rockies fan, that your bet loses. That's what an emotional hedge is. To actually put down money that the Rockies will exceed anybody's expectation, including Vegas's, I feel like that's irresponsible. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly. It is a great invention of sports betting. Jeff Haber, my guest. Magic Money Lines presented by ESPN Bet. Let's talk about the games. First of all, how good were those games last night, Jeff? Yeah, for sure. So now it's up to the next four games to live up to it. Let's go through each one of these. We don't have to, go real in depth. But we have four games. Michigan State, three. What where are they at? 3.5 or 4.5? 3.5 point favorites over Ole Miss. Tennessee against Kentucky. You could tell me. You tell me these. You got them in front. 4.5. Auburn is 8.5, and Houston 8.5. Okay. Which one of those four is the most likely favorite to cover in your mind? Mm-hmm. Well, and look, you have Braden Smith, if you're the Boilermakers, who is going to be the best player on the floor in that game. And whenever you can say that, you got a chance to be competitive, right? So we'll see. Yeah. Well, yeah, and I think that the public is with you. 71% of the handle, 71% of the money coming in is on Purdue to cover the spread. And I'm with you. I think the favorite that I like the most, and maybe some of it is because it's the smallest line. I do. I'm not a big believer in Ole Miss, and I had the Spartans going to the Final Four. So yeah, so I have Michigan State in my Final Four. I think they're a much better team than Ole Miss, so I'll take Sparty to cover as well. Which underdog? So you already said okay. So you said Michigan State favorite, Purdue the best underdog to cover. Um, the underdog. Where are you at? Where are you at with teams beating a single team for a third straight time? Because that's what we have in Kentucky and Tennessee. Despite Kentucky beating Tennessee twice, we have Tennessee favored by 4.5. I kind of feel like that would be a dog that I would like, even though they're the Wildcats. I I know it's difficult to beat a team three times in one season. We've seen it, right? But I think Kentucky, I don't see Tennessee blowing out Kentucky. And the two meetings that they've had this season is kind of my evidence to go Tennessee, Kentucky from a matchup standpoint can give Tennessee some problems. It doesn't, I would still lean Tennessee, but to cover, I'll take Kentucky in the points tonight. And how about Michigan Auburn with the college Jokic and Danny Wolf, those two 7-footers that if Michigan can slow it down, I think that they'll have a good chance to cover too. I'm going to go. I am making a case for all of these. I think I would go the most likely favorite to cover is Michigan State. The most likely dog to cover would be Kentucky. I would take Kentucky plus the points. But Michigan with those two 7-footers, I think they have a chance. I think we have another chance for all four of these games to be really good. And you and I don't want to put you on the spot. I just happen to have my bracket in front of me. You said we were talking the other day. You still have all four of your Final Four teams, yeah? You have Houston or Tennessee? Okay. So yeah, that's right. You and I both have Florida Duke with Florida winning, and but we differ on. I have Michigan State over Auburn. Well, I had Louisville over Auburn, so shows what I know. But I have Michigan State getting out of that region. And I have Houston getting out of their region. So we'll be a step closer to that coming up tomorrow. You don't want to bail on any of your teams, do you? Mm, mm-hmm. Let Let me ask you this. We have just a couple minutes left, but I'm curious. Were you disappointed at all in the lack of upsets in mid majors winning on the first couple of days? Mm, yeah. We both like UC San Diego. We both liked. Did you like VCU? I had VCU going a couple of rounds. No. Okay. Yeah. I just think my yeah. Yeah, it was. Hmm. No. Yeah. Yeah, and look, it's not that it's a moot point, but we're getting past the stage. My thing earlier this week was I do want to see it the first weekend. But I am very much about seeing, you know, Duke, Florida, Michigan State. Like I want to see. I'm not about Cinderella. Right at the end, Elite Eight, Final Four, championship game. That's what I want. That's what I want to see. But I also want to see a few more upsets, a few more mid majors early on. And I'm not talking about taking down 2 seeds or 1 seeds. I'm just talking about give us our 5-12s, and CSU did. But you know what I mean? Like more of those, not knocking out the elite teams, but knocking out these kind of second tier teams. I'd much rather see the mid majors and the upsets. Arkansas. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But we'll make do with what we got, and we got great basketball last night. Expect more great basketball today, and of course, you can bet it on ESPN Bet. Go from tracking the latest upsets to placing bets in just a few taps. All tournament long, new customers can get $100 in bonus bets when you make your first $10 wager. Just download the ESPN Bet Sportsbook app. Sign up with promo code Radio100 to get started today. Must be 21 or older, present in Colorado to bet. And if you have a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it, buddy. That has been Magic Money Lines, and that has been Drive Time Sports. Coming up next, our coverage of the Sweet 16. My thanks to DJ back at the Extra Sports 1300 studios. Ray here at Trainwreck. The folks here at Trainwreck, both working here and coming by and saying hi. Really appreciate it. We'll be back here during the national championship game as well, and we'll see who takes one more step towards it. Coming up next here on Extra Sports 1300. Ooh, great timing on that. Good job.